Hello everyone and welcome to the hands-on demo on Amazon Redshift. So in this demo, we will create an Amazon Redshift cluster. We will configure network access and security. We will connect to the cluster using query editor. We will load some sample data into Redshift cluster. We will perform some basic queries and analyze query performance. We will use the copy command and we will clean up all the resources. So first is to create an S3 bucket and upload some sample data. So I am at AWS console home. Search for S3. Click on S3. So I'll copy the bucket name. Click on create bucket. Paste the bucket name and click create bucket. So here I have the sample sales data. So this is basic data, and this will just showcase later on how to copy it to a Redshift table. So what you can do, you can copy the whole data, open any editor of your choice and save the file with whatever name, but just make sure that file name is salesdata.csv, because in the command I will be using the exact same name. So once the bucket is created, go inside the bucket and click upload, add files and copy, select the salesdata.csv. Click upload. So next we will create a Redshift cluster. So I copy the cluster name and I will be choosing the node type as dc2.large, which is the cheapest node and one node cluster. So search for Redshift. I'll open this in a new tab. So come and click here, and there are two options, serverless and provisioned clusters. So we will be using the provisioned clusters in this demo. Create cluster. Paste the cluster name and I will choose node type. So there are two types, array type and DC2. So array3 node types and DC2. So I'll choose this one. This will cost me around 25 cents per hour and I'll choose only one node. So it will be to 182, but I'll finish this lecture in around 1 hour's time. Select load sample data, admin user name, same AWS user, and I will manually add the admin password. So I'll give this simple password. Default encryption, cluster encryption. So this one is cluster permissions. So I'll be creating a role that will let me talk with other services, like basically in the cluster. So this create an IAM role as the default for the cluster that has this particular permission, and this policy includes permissions to run SQL commands to copy, unload and query data from Redshift. This policy also grants permissions to run select statements for related services such as S3, CloudWatch logs and Amazon SageMaker and Glue. So I'll say create IAM role, and I also need access to S3 bucket. So I'll choose the bucket which I have just created and select create IAM role as default. So this will add a role here. Okay, moving down. So I'll just say I want to see all the options. So network and security. So herein you want to change, you can change. So I'll just use the default VPC, default security groups, and you have to create a subnet group. So click on create new subnet group. So I'll copy the subnet group name. So it's the same, and description, and where you want to place your Redshift cluster. So I'll just say within only one AZ, US East 1A, and there's only one subnet, and create cluster subnet group. Okay, so you have to add subnet. Okay, once you have done that, create cluster subnet group. So it seems this already exists. So I'll just make it 2, create subnet group 2. So this is successfully created. So I'll close this and this also. Now if I go back to the Redshift cluster page and just refresh, I should see the second one, right? And you can choose where you want to place your cluster. I will just say US East 1A, enhanced VPC routing off, database configuration. So I will give my own database name, and I'll call it DemoDB. And before that, it should be publicly accessible, because I'll showcase how to connect from your local database client. And default port, maintenance, so default values, monitoring also default values, and backup all the default values. And that's it, and click on create cluster. So this is now creating, and it will take around 5 minutes or so, and I'll just pause the video and resume once it's ready and available. Okay, right, so after around 5 minutes the cluster is available. So we have done all these settings. Now we'll connect to the cluster. So just click on query data. So I go to the Redshift page, cluster page, and I will click on query data. So let it load. And so you, for first time when you connect, you have to give the database name and user name and password. So this is the query editor v2. So if you just expand this, so you have editor, queries, notebooks, charts, history, and scheduled queries. On the right side, there are two things. One is SQL editor, and sometimes you have notebook also. So I will let's say I try to open this particular DemoDB. So let me just refresh because it's caching some old information. So let me open it now. And if I click on DemoDB, so there are no tables, and there is other dev database also. And there are some existing tables. And this one is sample data dev, which has the ticket sample database. So we have to create it. So first time if you see this screen, just enter the values. Now I will load the ticket sample data. So what you can do, go to the Redshift query editor, and this will open sample notebooks. So just click it, and you do not have a sample database yet. Do you want us to create sample database for you? So click on create. So database sample data dev is created successfully. And sample data is loaded successfully. So now this particular notebook is getting loaded. So retrieving cached result for recent queries and all. Okay. So this is the ticket sample notebook. So there is one editor here. So this is an SQL editor, and this is a sample notebook. So if you click, there are two types, editor and notebook. So I am at the sample notebook ticket, and there are a couple of queries. So I'll so this is first query, and this was the cached result. So I'll just close all the tabs, result tabs, and run it. And I'll close this result also, and this final also. So now there are total 4 queries. So this is sales per event. So I can run all, or I can come and run one by one. So this is similar to Jupyter notebooks. So these are the cells, and it will show the result. So let me click first one. So I'll collapse this one, and this is the run status, and here the data will be visible immediately in the notebook itself. So it's saying sales per event. So basically the event and how much was the total sales. So this is the whole query, and same total quantity per buyer. So if I run this, so for every buyer, how much quantity they have purchased. Next is table definition. So basically this will tell you about the table information, that schema name, table name, column name, encoding and other information. And lastly, sales for date. So there is specific date and we want to know how much was the total sales. So this was the total sales for that particular date. So this was the ticket sample database. So we have explored that. Now we load our own data. So for this I will create a users table. So I'll copy the whole users table and in the query editor. So what I can do, I can click this plus and click notebook, and here I have to select the database which I am working with. So this is DemoDB. I'll paste the query and click on run. So this has created a table successfully. So I'll just verify it once and then I will continue to run the next set of queries. So under DemoDB, if I just click refresh, and under DemoDB, so there are one table now, and that is the users table. Okay, fine. Now I just collapse it and add some data. So table is created and this is the insert query. So this is very basic data. So we are just adding 5 records with name, email, and some values. So there are some dates. So these are like not fixed, like they are in between like 15, 20 and all. So this will become relevant why I talked specifically about date. So what you can do in this particular notebook, so we have notebook 1, notebook 2, and if you click here, you can add a markdown. So let me show you how it looks. So this is like a regular markdown. I'll just say and if I click plus SQL, so this will show like a markdown. Now I will add some data into the table, same table. So I am at the same notebook and same database connected, and click on run. So this has added 5 records. Next I can just do a select query, add SQL. So advantage of this notebook is like all the cells are separate and you can run one by one, or you can pick and choose where you want to run. So otherwise, if it's a regular SQL editor, we have to like delete and paste. So I can see all my data back. Now this is a simple aggregation query. So we are just truncating by month. So there are dates. So if there are more dates within a month, it will just add in to one specific. So January will have how many user count. So it's just showing how many users signed up for our in our users table. So this is this will be month. So truncate, and then we are doing a count. So I'll copy the whole aggregation query. Click this plus and run it. So the issue, so this is the data is coming correctly. So the issue is just showing in a not very readable format, human readable format. So next I will just add it, like make it January 1st, January, February, like this. So basically truncate will just truncate it to the lowest value and how many user count. So this is the query, which is same query, but it is doing 2char and it is doing a month. So as month. So this query shows how many new users signed up each month. It takes all the sign up dates, groups them by month, and counts how many users joined in each month. The results are ordered from earliest to latest, giving you a clear view of your user growth over time. It's a simple way to see if your sign up are increasing, decreasing, or staying steady month by month without having to sift through individual user records. So basically, if you have a, for example, quick site or something, you can visualize this data. So it will be showing as a line chart. So I'll copy the whole query and click this plus SQL, paste it and click on run. So now it's showing like this. So you can definitely, if you want, you could have put a graph around this in some BI tool or some any kind of visualization tool like QuickSight. Next is the copy command. So copy command is used to copy S3 data directly to Redshift tables. So for this, I'll be creating a new sales table, and this will be in the DemoDB database, and this table does not exist. And then I will copy the S3 sales data.csv from S3 bucket. So I'll copy this query, and for this I can open a new notebook. I could have done on the same notebook also, but let me just open a new notebook and make sure this is DemoDB. Click on run. Okay, there are total of 3 connections has been reached. So I'll close some of the notebooks. So I'll close this one, and close this one. And now let me try it. So let me try again. So now it has successfully created in the DemoDB. Next, this is the copy command. So what it is doing, this is the table name. So copy table name from the bucket. So you have to give the whole path. So that's why I said make sure the file name you don't change, and then the role. So we have to copy the IAM role and the region. So if you are copying from some other S3 bucket in some other region, you have to mention the region and the CSV and ignore header 1. So I'll copy the whole command. Click on this plus, and I'll just collapse this. So what I need to fix is this particular command's access role. So let me go to IAM. I'll open up IAM in a new tab. Click on roles. So this is the command's access role, and make sure I copy the ARN, and then I go back to the query editor, delete and paste the whole ARN. Now click on run. So 3 records loaded successfully, which is correct because we have 3 records. Next, I can just verify. So go to the query editor, create a new cell, and click on run. So I can see the data back. Now I just connect from my local machine. So for this, we have to just open in the security group, add a rule to allow traffic from our local laptop or local machine. So for this, you have to go to the Redshift. So go to the Redshift and go to the clusters. So view all clusters, click refresh, click on the cluster which we have just created, and just copy the JDBC URL. So I'll copy this JDBC URL. So I'm using this database client. You can use any client which you have. This will let me connect. So there is a connection string here already. So I have to fix that particular string. So okay, so here I'll paste the new URL and username and password. Connect. Okay, for this I have to, as I talked about, I have to open the security group. So without security group open, it cannot connect. So what I have to do, I have to go to the properties under database configuration, network and security. So this is the VPC security group. You just click it, it will open in a new tab. So it's loading the security group. Select the security group and inbound rules, edit, add a rule. I'll say all traffic, and I'll say my IP, and save rules. So the rule is added successfully. Now I click on connect. So now I can see all the databases which we are seeing on the web console also. And so we have seen the connection. Now I will just clean up all the resources. So first is to delete the Redshift cluster. So on the clusters page, actions, delete, uncheck create final snapshot, and delete cluster. So this will go ahead and delete the cluster. Next is to delete the role. So come to IAM, and I am on the same page. Click on delete. Then just copy paste the whole name. And click on delete. Lastly, delete the S3 bucket also. So on the S3 bucket page, if you go to buckets, select this and click on empty first, because it has to be emptied. Copy paste the permanently delete string, exit, and now select the bucket and delete. So just copy the whole name and click on delete bucket. So now this is getting deleted. Make sure you just check 2-3 minutes later that there are no clusters available. So if I just click on clusters, and if I come here, after some time there should not be any clusters. So this is now getting deleted. And that's all. Thanks for watching.